me. I'm so excited. We're about to head into a new year. I think everyone is super excited to finally get out of 2020. But no matter what the case, no matter what the year has brought, at the end of the day, we can all tune in to tips that are going to help us, not just in the new year, but really throughout the new year that we're going into, and every day be more productive. So you'll see I have my 5 tips here to help us boost productivity in the new year. But I also have some bonus tips on here, and then also how you can start taking action right away. So we're gonna dive right in. So I just wanted to share with you very quickly who I am. My name is Sandy Glanz. As Christy mentioned, I'm a high performance productivity coach. And what I do is I help my clients go from that overwhelm and stress. So much of the time, my clients are super high performers on their own, and they feel like they just cannot get enough time in the day. And if that's you, I know that you'll resonate with this, especially as we go through these tips. But I help them essentially go from the stress out, the burnout, into making the income and the impact that they really want to make, and they can be fulfilled in their lives. Because I'm a mom myself. I have 2 boys. I'm jumping ahead a little bit here, but I have 2 boys. And being a mom, an entrepreneur, doing all the things, you know, you have to kind of have a little bit of things in order. We're going to talk about that today. I wrote a book here, Slay Your Day. And again, this dives into how to become more productive, tap into your full potential, and really just be able to systematize what you're already doing to tap into that full potential. So I'm married to Jared Glantz. Again, like I said, we have 2 kids together, and being a mom, running a business, being a wife, especially during the holiday season, I mean, there's already a lot going on as is, but when you throw in the holidays, a global pandemic, right? Like we have all these things that we have going on. It's a lot. And I think what I'm going to share with you today is going to help you, or I should say, I know what I'm going to share with you today is going to help you navigate this time going into the new year a little bit easier. So let's dive into the 5 tips on how to boost productivity going into the new year. So the first thing I wanted to do was break down what essentially is productivity. So it's the state or quality of producing something, right? So the effectiveness of productive effort. And essentially we want to boost productivity. So when we're doing something, when we're working, when we're with our kids, I want to be at that peak productivity state, no matter what it is I'm doing with my kids, spending time with my husband, with my clients, in my business, right? So if we can boost that and focus on the things that are really going to help move you forward, this is what we're going to do today. This is what we're going to focus that attention on, so we can boost that productivity and get you working towards what you really want to be doing and the results that you want to get. So I have here increased productivity results in increased profits. This is also something, again, it's not just profits monetarily, like in your business. This is, to me, productivity. I want to be a mom that feels like I'm getting it all done. I want to be a wife that's present with my husband, my kids, all around, right? So if this is you, again, this is going to be super helpful for you today on exactly what you can do to really narrow in on focus. What can I do to move the ball forward? So why is it so important that we focus on improving productivity, right? Because obviously we all are here to grow and learn. And in order to elevate your success, right, you need to know which factors are going to impact your productivity and how you can tweak these things to work in your favor, right? There's 2 different sides of the coin here. We have being busy and we have being productive. I know all day long, I'd rather focus on the things that are going to help move my business forward so I can be productive versus just doing a whole bunch of things in no particular order and being frantic. I call that the never-ending hamster wheel, right? So we don't want to do that. We want to get away from that. We want to focus on the key factors that are going to help move us forward into that high productivity, so you can really enjoy what it is that you're doing, and not just enjoy it, but know that you're moving yourself forward. So tip number 1, track your time. And I know you've all heard this before, but I have a few little bonus tips for each of these highlighted tips. So much of the time we think that, you know, I spend maybe an hour a day going through my emails. I have a project that I'm working on, more or less it's going to take me 2 hours or 45 minutes, right? What I want you to focus on going into the new year is really auditing this time. And the reason why I say this, and I have this as tip number 1, is because number 1, we may think a task may take 30 minutes, when in all reality, it's actually going to take you an hour and 30 minutes, right? So a lot of the times in the health and wellness industry, they have you track like what you're eating in the day, what calories you're taking in, what food you're eating. I call this like the time audit, right? So tracking the time and knowing exactly where that time is going. The other thing, which we don't like to think about or focus on, is where is my time being wasted? But if we don't know where our time's being wasted, we're not going to be able to hone in and say, okay, well, I went to go on social media for 20 minutes and I ended up on there for 40 or an hour, or who knows, right? How much time we're spending on social media. So I want you to really go and start auditing this time. And what I recommend is for a good 24 hours, right? It doesn't have to be an everyday thing that you do this, but for a 24-hour period, write down, where am I spending my time? How much time am I actually spending on my emails? How much time am I actually spending on creating content or with my clients? I mean, there's so many times when I tell a client it's an hour call or an hour session that we're doing, and it's an hour and 20 minutes, right? And that's fine. But wherever you're spending that time, I want you to be very cognizant of where that time is going so you can track and plan for the rest of the day and the rest of the tasks that you have at hand. So number 2 is prioritize what's urgent and what's important. These two things are very different. When I think of things that are urgent, these are like the fires that you're putting out, right? The things that pop up that are unexpected. And I always say, as a mom and as a business owner and just a woman that's wearing many different hats, that it's so important for me to know what I have going on and to plan my day. But more likely than not, things are not going to go according to plan. So for all of the women that are on here, I'm sure you can resonate and kind of, you feel me on this one, because there's things that we write down. And look, if you're a business owner, if you're an entrepreneur, you know that every day is different. It's not like you're following a strict schedule every single day is like the day before, right? So I want you to start evaluating tasks and write down what are the things that are urgent, not urgent, important, not important. And some of those not important things are like scrolling social media, kind of going through the junk mail that we just don't need to put our attention on, right? I like to call it the money-making moves. Like, what are the things that are actually going to move us forward? But if you can actually like take what you're doing and put it into manageable chunks, not the to-do list, but in my book, I talk about the 3 overarching goals, focusing on those things, and then breaking down again, what's going to move me forward. It's so important to do this, especially when you have, again, going in from 2020 into 2021, what are my projects I need to wrap up? What are some things I need to focus on now that I want to end before going into the new year? This will really help you prioritize those things and close out what you need to close out so you can go into 2021 strong. And I want to say, as a little side note to that, if you have not projected out, you guys see all these like calendars behind me, right? This is up here December, and then all of Q1 for 2021. If you have not mapped out your 2021 yet, this is the time to do it. I always say plan out your day the night before, which we're going to get into. And I talk about getting that game plan in place. So if you haven't done that yet, there's still time to do it before January 1st. So I really, really highly encourage everyone to get that game plan in place now. Again, it might change, but at least you know what you're doing going into the new year. And then number 3, identify the time suckers. When I talk about this in my coaching programs, there's so many things that come up that the members of the group are like, wow, I never thought about this, or I can't believe like I went on social and I was going to do this for 5 or 10 minutes and then I end up spending more time there. A big thing to do is to identify where that time is going. So figure out again what you're doing day to day. And then also, like, a big one for me is I'll take my phone and I put it on airplane mode. I'll put it on silent. I'll put it away because I know like little pings or dings or alerts that are going to come up. Those are all things that take us away from where our focus is. So really starting to identify where those time thieves are, right? And again, you can record what you're doing on a day-to-day basis and then go back and see what you can get rid of. Go back and see, okay, well, I didn't need to do this, or maybe there's a better time I can do these things, right? So discover a routine that works for you. And again, by implementing that, that's really going to help you to stay focused on what you're doing versus getting sidetracked. And look, we all have a lot of things going on and things that pop up, but this is a great way by identifying them to say, okay, I'm going to be able to pinpoint exactly what that thing is, what that time sucker is, that when it comes up, I can identify it even sooner. All right. So that just kind of gives you the focus again to really move the day forward and move your tasks forward as they come up and not get sidetracked. And then number 4 flows right into perfect tip number 4, determine a schedule that works for you. So again, this one I think is a big one because especially of what we've dealt with this year with the pandemic and COVID and all the things going on. I know that we've had a lot of parents, moms and dads working from home. I mean, look, the whole world has been going through this, right? So our schedules have changed. You may realize that there's things that you can accomplish better in the morning than you can at night. I know for me, like prime time is when my kids are down for a nap. So that's a great time to get things done when I won't be, as distracted. But I want you to really focus on getting into the practice of when can I determine a schedule that's going to work best for me, right? Like if you know that you're more of a night time person, like those night owls, and you're going to be more productive at night and you do your best work then know that and use that as a strength, right? Like work to that strength. But if you know that mornings are your optimal time and you have a lot of energy, like my husband is a total morning person. For me, I'm like, I get a lot of my energy, ideas, and the juice at nighttime. So we're like on reverse schedules, but you really need to discover a schedule that works best for you. And that's going to help you work to, again, your strengths versus trying to do things when there's distractions and really just not fitting it into a time that's going to be make sense for what you're doing on a day-to-day basis. Again, so much of this is changing with COVID and being home. So if you can identify this now, you'll get a really solid game plan and structure that you can work to, again, your strengths and what you're doing day to day versus kind of just winging it and saying, well, I have to get these things done in the morning or at night. Getting that schedule ahead of time is really going to help you work and getting that flow down for you. And then number 5, focus on solutions, not problems. This is huge. And I think across the board, this is something that we can implement really in any area of our life, right? If I have a family member, a client, myself, anyone that says, I'm coming to you with a problem, right? Like, let's focus on getting away from that negative energy and into finding the solutions, right? What are the solutions that I can come up with to get away from the problem? Because at the end of the day, we waste so much time when it comes to, well, this is a roadblock because I can't figure this thing out. Or, I came up with this person said, no, I can't do this for some reason, or, a lot has changed in 2020 and there's been a lot of roadblocks for people, detours. And we can stay in those detours, we can stay in those roadblocks, or we can find solutions. So I always say, come to the table with a solution versus saying why it won't work, right? So whatever you're doing going into 2021, as you map out your game plan, as you go in and say, I'm going to accomplish all these things and this is what I want to do for the new year. Know that going into the new year, like there's going to be things that happen. No one would have imagined in January of going into 2020 in January that COVID was going to happen when it did, right? Like it derailed everyone's plans. The word of the year was pivot, like for the world. So at the end of the day, just know that no matter what happens, if you have that outlook and the mentality of, I'm going to figure it out, I'm going to come to the table with the solutions, not focus on the problems, you're going to be able to move forward and be so much more productive for yourself, your team, your family, and make it easier for everyone to work together towards a solution versus just ruminating on the issue or the problem that you're focusing on at hand. So a couple bonus quick tips for you. Keep a growth mindset. And again, this goes what we were just talking about on focusing on the solutions, not the problems. One of the things I always tell my clients is focus on learning something, just 1% a day, right? Because if we can go into the new year, and I know everyone's like, I want to be better, I want to grow, and I want to learn. But instead of being 100% better, like, you guys, that's only a fraction of what we can accomplish in a year if we look on focusing being 1% better and growing every single day. So doing things like this, jumping on webinars or trainings or podcasts, investing in coaches, buying books, all of these things, right? Investing in yourself and just say, I'm going to become 1% better every single day. And for me, this is in my business, this is as a wife, This is being a mom. So this is across the board in every single area. And if we can grow just 1% every single day, you're going to be amazed at what you've accomplished in the year. And that's the end goal, right? Stepping into productivity is about how can I maximize my efforts, but by doing the right things, right? It's almost like I don't want to be like a dog chasing my tail, just going around in circles, being busy all day long. I want to do things that are going to allow me to grow and learn and invest in myself. And then another thing is unplugging every 90 minutes. There's been proven statistics that show that if you unplug, if you get into a very strategic work zone for about 90 minutes, that you take a break after that. You give yourself, a 5-10 minute break. Go around walk around the block. I mean, obviously, if it's nice outside, get up, use the bathroom, just give yourself that break, because you actually will increase your productivity and achieve more by giving yourself those little 5-10 minute breaks in between the 90 minute sessions versus just trying to, plow through it and focus on something for more than 90 to 120. 120 is like your maximum. You really don't want to go any more than 120 because our brains kind of get stagnant at that point, and it's hard for us to continue to focus on what we need to accomplish. So giving yourself that change in the pattern of what you're doing helps you to achieve maximum productivity. So with that, you could easily just set an alarm on your phone and say, when I hit these 90 minutes, I'm going to go for a walk. I'm going to get a drink of water, whatever it is, to get up and give yourself that movement, because it's really going to help you get back into that creative flow. And then the final thing that I have on here is plan your day the night before. This is pretty much my number one rule. If you, like I said, have read my book, or if you have seen any of my content before, I always say you got to plan everything the night before. Know what you need to focus on, whether it's your calls, your meetings, your appointments. And the big thing is too, how many people have gone to bed and I think this is like a woman thing more in general, but we go to bed with a million things on our minds and then you can't sleep, right? And again, this is probably the entrepreneur brain as well, where you're like, don't forget to make this phone call. Don't forget to send out that email. Don't forget this meeting or an appointment, right? And then it's really hard to wind down and focus for the next day. So if you plan everything out that you need to do the night before, it helps you to wind down, get the energy you need for that night, and then wake up with that action plan, right? Giving you that purpose, knowing the direction that you're going in, and it allows you to take that strong action for the next day. With that being said, I do this for my months as well. So I don't just plan my day the night before for the next day. At the end of every month, I plan for the month that's coming up. And then just like today, as I was saying earlier, you want to plan now for the year ahead. And if for you, that means you're planning out your whole year, or if you're breaking it down into quarters, whatever that means for you, get that in place now, because there's going to be things that happen, whether it's COVID, whether it's your kids getting sick, whether it's something that changes with your job, whatever the case may be, there's always going to be that margin of error. Like, we always have to assume that something's going to happen and come up. But the better that we can plan for those things to come up, even though you might not know what it is, you're still planning for success. Plan out what it is that you can control. So control the controllables. That's a little extra bonus tip in there. We want to control the things that we do have the control over. So when these other things pop up, we can better navigate them. Now, how to take action now, because one of the things that I always love to set my clients up with is, when I do a coaching call with them, when I jump on the phone and I go through these trainings, the biggest thing is, what do I do now, right? So all of us, we go through a training, we read a book, we listen to a podcast, you get inspired, and then what? We got to take action, right? So 3 things on how you can take action right now. We got to eliminate the excuses. And you can see this is a pretty common thread throughout what I'm talking to you today, right? If we are looking for a reason to have these excuses, you're going to be able to find one. You'll always be able to find a reason not to do something, or something that can come up to distract you, right? So build the momentum by taking action. That's going to build that confidence for you, right? So going through, what is it that I can eliminate right? I can eliminate the excuses going into 2021. I know a lot of people have like a power word for going into the new year. That's something that you can help to focus yourself on by getting rid of those excuses. But again, at the end of the day, you're always going to continue to be building that momentum, taking action and moving forward when we get rid of the excuses. And then number 2 is don't wait for the perfect moment. There's no such thing. You just have to focus on right now, right? What in the here and now can I do to adjust for what I need to do? And again, at the end of the day, take action. You go through, you implement, and then you change course as needed. But you don't wait for the perfect moment, because truly there is no such thing. And I tell my clients all the time, don't wait to show up and feel like you're always going to be ready. Like there's no, I'm going to feel ready like this day. I'm going to feel like when I feel my best, look my best, my hair, my makeup, especially for the women, like it's something that you just need to show up. And the more you do it and the more consistent you get with it, the more confidence you're going to have. So if we just stop the waiting game and you just start to take action, that's what's going to give you that progress. And I always say progress over perfection, right? Like send out the email, get the newsletter out, do the training, reach out to the client, do the thing that you need to do to move the ball forward versus hemming and hawing over the little things that you get caught up in that are going to stop you from taking that action. Which obviously goes into the final step here is just do it, right? Achieving your goals is just a series of small steps taken one after another after another. That's all it is. I think a lot of people get so caught up in this vision of like, what's the magic pill that I can take to success? What's the shortcut that I can take to fast track me to where I want to go? But you guys, at the end of the day, it's just these series of small steps over and over and over again that are going to get you to where you want to go. So if you can take the illusion of, well, there's one perfect thing that I'm going to do, or there's one video or one email or one call that I'm going to make that's going to change it for me. I hate to break it to you. That's just not how it works. It's a series of all these small things, one after another, that's going to create that momentum for you to achieve and to get to where you want to go. And success is a journey, and it should be fun. And along the way, you get to be creative and you get to take on business and clients that you want to take on, but you have to take that first step and realize like what is important to me, right? And it's all about this journey and just knowing like, I don't want to be on the journey of just doing a bunch of things that aren't going to help me move forward. That's why we have to know what the focus is, where am I going, eliminate the excuses, and really at the end of the day, just take that first step, because the more you do it, the more comfortable you're going to feel. And then you just know it, it's a part of the journey. So these were some little quick tips on how to just take action right now. And then my challenge to you and my question to you is, how are you going to get your 2021 action plan in place right now? Again, my rule of thumb is anytime I'm consuming something, again, whether it's a podcast, a training, a video, or a book, then I have to take action and implement. So the rule of thumb is as much as I consume, I create. So my challenge and my question to you is, now, how are you going to get your 2021 action plan in place? And I would love to connect with you all. I'm on Facebook, Instagram. I have a little freebie for you guys at sandraglandt.com/hacks. But the best place to connect with me is on Instagram. I'm super, I show up there all the time. You guys will see my stories and everything on there, from business to family and everything in between. So I would love to, as you go through this, and if you've been taking notes and you're writing down what you're going to be doing to move forward into 2021 and what your action plan is, I would love for you to reach out to me. Let me know what you're doing. If you have any questions or if you need help on exactly how to strategically do this, I'm here and I would love to take any questions that you guys have.
Hey, Sandy, first of all, thank you very much for the time, for the amazing presentation. Really enjoyed it. I have some questions I got from the audience and from when you plan and then something happens, something that you didn't expect, something urgent, how do you update your schedule at that point? How do you prioritize when everything changes?
Yep. Okay. So great question. So I always focus on 3 things to move myself forward every single day. In my book, I call them the 3 overarching goals. So I may have a long to-do list. I say to-do lists aren't our friends anymore. We want to focus on the 3 things that are going to move you forward every single day. So what I do is I have my, essentially what I'm doing from the time I get up till the time I go to bed, but there's only 3 things that I focus on that I need to get done that day, each day. And if those things get completed, that's the only goal that I have for the day. So especially now, right? The holidays are coming up. We all have business obligations that we need to wrap up before the end of the year. There's just a lot going on. So the more that you have going on, the better this system works, because you get to say, what are my top 3 non-negotiable priorities that I'm focusing on accomplishing today? And when I accomplish those, then I can move on to the rest. But if something comes up and it's urgent, right? And you have to, for some reason, you can't get all these other things done, you know that those 3 things are your non-negotiables that you get done, and you don't worry about the rest.
Great. And if you talked about the holidays, do you have any tips for people that are watching regarding holidays and how to schedule the holidays and quarantines were during COVID times? For example, you had Hanukkah and then you have Christmas. I mean,
yeah, and we celebrate both in our house.
How do you schedule and play with all your schedule that you have with 2 holidays in that month, for example?
So another thing I talk about in my book is a 3D system, and it's called do, delegate, and delete. So I'm a big fan of delegating the things that I don't have to do, meaning I want to and I have to be there for my children, right? So holidays is a time to be with your family. But look, we're buying presents and those presents need to be wrapped, and they're, you know, again, you want the holiday season to me is so much more about the family than the things, right? But I know a lot of us are the presents and the experiences, and we want to make it all perfect. So what I do is I know that there's certain things that I want to get for my kids or my husband or, you know, my family, but I'll outsource the wrapping, right? Like I don't have to be the one that's like buying and wrapping and making everything look perfect. I can be here and doing a presentation and have someone else be wrapping my presents, right? I don't need to be the one to wear that hat if I don't want to. That being said, what are the things that only you can do? And then what are the things that anyone else can do, right? To take off of your plate. So they still get done, but you don't have to do them, right? And for us, like that meant, look, my husband, he put up our Christmas tree this year. I do Hanukkah with our kids. So there's certain things that I do. There's certain things my husband does. My in-laws live close by. We're fortunate enough to have them live close by. So I'm like, look, I need to go out shopping, or I'll use Amazon. Like I use the things that I can to allow me to buy more time. Another thing that I do is, and I don't know if you guys have this in Israel, but here we have Instacart. So it's like you can get your groceries delivered to your house. And I use that probably twice a week. Amazon is delivering every single day, right? So things from holiday presents to groceries, I outsource where I can. I focus on the things that only I want to or can do, and then I delegate or outsource the things to give me and buy me more time.
You have put 2 sentences about that. First, do what you do best, outsource the rest.
Yes.
And the second one, you always have to buy valuable time with cheap money.
Yes.
That's one of the important things to do.
Absolutely.
When you're planning ahead, I see you have your boards.
Yeah.
You're planning ahead few months before. How much are you going into the micromanagement, micro things when you're planning, for example, a quarter ahead, 2 months ahead? How much are you going into the micro things, and how much are you preferring for the macro, and then on a weekly or monthly basis, you're going down for the micro?
Yep, great question. So what I do is I break my months down into 3 categories. I break them down into my goals, I break them down into my projects, and then my daily to-dos. So every single month, those 3 subcategories go into that month. And if you can't see, but right beneath my computer, I've got like one of those big desk calendars. And under it, I break columns. So my goals and also on here, you can actually see. So like here, this is like the project or what I'm promoting. And then underneath. So I focus on kind of like the big picture. What is it that I'm focusing on? Like behind me here, it'll say podcast, because I have a new podcast that's going to be coming out in January. It'll be like a course, it'll be a VIP day, it'll be coaching, whatever it is, the big picture things. And then I get into the nitty gritty, the details when I'm planning it out the month before. But I know going into the quarter, what am I focusing on each month? What am I promoting? What am I planning for? Because that allows me and my team to then get very granular and say, okay, we know in February, this course is going to be coming out, or we know in January, the podcast is going to be coming out. So what do we need to get in line and start to put attention on the granular level versus the big picture? So when I'm projecting out quarters, it's the projects, it's the big things, and then the month before, and really getting into what are we doing, the little dailies, what are we focusing on, what am I doing, what is my team doing, and we break it down even further.
They're great tips, because we're always talking to our audience about planning ahead, and we're using the a monthly, a daily calendar, kind of like the 10x calendar, but upgraded. Don't tell Jared.
Okay.
It's
Nice.
very upgraded. So that's kind of the same to plan ahead your week, your day, your month, and so on. On a different or the same thing, how do you feel that the productivity of people has changed during the pandemic? I mean, many of the time laws has changed. People are working from home, not going to work, buying everything online. How did it change the productivity